everybody. Welcome back to America. It is I, once again, DB Frick, here with the Not Quite Ready for Jihad players. Happy to see you on Monday. We're here every Monday, 9 to 10 on Strong Island Television. And we're here again tonight. And we got a lot going on. We got so much show that I don't want to keep you waiting at all. The first thing we got another visit from our friend in the UK, Clemenzia, who's bringing us a little UK gossip. So I want to get right to that, and Clemenzia over there, let's see what she had to say about the royals and the monarchy. Hey, everybody out there in America land. Thank you for checking out Welcome Back to America once again. We have someone back who was recently here a few weeks ago. She came out from the UK, and she's come back to give us a little UK gossip. So, Clemenzia, thanks for joining us. What do you got for us today?
Hi, DB. So lovely to be back with you again. How is everything in the colonies?
We're doing good. It's all right. It's all right here, yeah.
I'm so thrilled, of course, because our latest news is that your new president, Joe Biden, came to visit us in Cornwall for the G7. How marvelous to have a real president for a change who doesn't keep Her Majesty waiting. Back in 2019, of course, when President Trump came to visit us at Buckingham Palace, we all hid in the broom closet, which led to a lot of confusion, you see, because there are 179 broom closets in Buckingham Palace, and it ended up in a horrendous game of hide and seek until 3 in the morning. It was absolutely exhausting. The other news is, of course, is that William and Kate are going to send their son George to boarding school. Now, boarding school, DB, I don't know if you know, but boarding school is a rite of passage for every British child. They have to be wrenched away from the comforts of their own home and thrown into an alien environment with hundreds of strangers. It's absolutely character building. And also, being in the countryside has so much to offer. There's a lot of mud and inbred people. You know, Clemenzia loves the countryside.
I would imagine. Do you always refer to yourself in the third person?
Oh, yes, that's what we aristocrats do. But also, DB, I must let you know we are jumping on the woke bandwagon. I realized that the royal family have actually been woke all these years in a refreshingly way, and we are ahead of the curve by referring to ourselves as we. So who on earth thought that we were old-fashioned and out of touch? Nonsense.
I hear there's some controversy about Harry and Meghan and naming their new baby. And what do you have anything?
Yes, the Lilibet situation. Yes, it is very, very, very regrettable. I'm afraid I think it's rather odd to call the daughter after the Queen's very personal and private nickname. I mean, what if this fad were to catch on? My nickname at school was Clammy Clem. It's a good thing I don't have children. DB, what was your nickname at school?
Oh, mine was Cherry's Jubilee.
Cherry's Jubilee. Sounds like a porn name. Anyway, I rest my case. The other news, of course, is that there is, as you may know, a rift between Harry and William. And there's a new book out next week called Battle of the Brothers. Sounds like a wrestling competition. It's a book by Robert Lacey, and goodness me, what a read it's going to be. Lots of scandal and gossip. I ordered a copy. I just thought I'd let you know. I ordered a copy, and I thought I'll keep it under the desk and read it during my lunch break, and I might cover it and disguise it in a copy of Country Life magazine. Then I heard, through a friend of mine at the palace, that there's a box of 150 copies arriving on Tuesday morning. I suppose they must be freebies from the author to give thanks for all the interviews from the staff here at Buckingham Palace.
Of course. Thank you so much, Clemenzia, for coming down to Welcome Back to America and giving us some UK gossip. I look forward to having you back in a few weeks. And you rock. Thanks for checking out Welcome Back to America. We'll be back right after this. Hey, Wasn't that great? Clemenzia was here today out of the UK. And now we have a giant of the comedy world. This man was a writer and senior editor. He was worked there for 33 years. He's on Mad Magazine, one of the most important pieces of comedy history out there. Joe Raiola, thank you so much for coming down to the show and having you here. It's really nice to see you.
A giant of the comedy world? You're obviously confusing me with someone else, but thank you.
Somebody wrote that here. They wrote giant of the comedy world. I just write what they say. They meaning me, the guy who put it on the cards. But thank you for coming down.
I'm 5'6", by the way.
5'6", well, so is Napoleon. You're more likely to take over the world than me. Joe, we have something in common. We both went to Adelphi University.
Yes.
And you actually...
I just found out.
Go on.
I just found out that was true of you. I didn't know that until just yesterday.
No, yeah.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1999. So you actually started in 77, which was the year I was born.
I graduated in 77.
You graduated in 77, so you, okay.
Yeah.
So we both have that in common. I like that. I like knowing that. You were born in Brooklyn, right?
Yes.
And
I was born in Brooklyn.
What brought you to Adelphi? What made you, did you live on Long Island too?
I was a very poor student. That's what brought me to Adelphi. I was a very poor student with low grades. My grades didn't qualify me for Adelphi, but I got in as a provisional student because of some plays I was writing in my senior year of high school. And, you know, going to school in the 70s was great because there were no standards. There were no requirements. There were no university requirements at all. I spent 4 years at Adelphi. I did not take a single test, not a one.
What?
Not a single.
That's absurd. What kind of degree did you end with?
A good English degree.
But so did I.
A degree in bullshit. It's a degree in bullshit, but it was very good. You know, Adelphi for me was comedy college, and it was great in that sense because I was able to do what I wanted to do there. I wanted to write for the newspaper, a humor column. I wrote one. I wanted to be on the radio. I had a comedy radio show. I wanted to produce shows on campus. I did that. I got to basically do whatever comedy stuff I wanted to do, I could do there. And what happened outside of the classroom was far more important than what happened in the classroom. And again, because standards were low, I excelled as a student. And my buddy, Charlie Cadu, who became senior editor at Mad with me, he went to Hofstra. So that was great. Charlie and I, wrote together through our college days and produced shows at Adelphi and Hofstra. And that was a really excellent time for me.
Do you remember what made you first know that you were funny or want to be funny in some capacity?
I knew what made me want to be a comedian. I can tell you what exactly made me want to be a comedian. When I was like 4 years old, my mom and dad told me that they were taking me to a party, when in fact they were taking me to get my tonsils taken out. And this is my first memory. And I remember being strapped to a gurney and, like little Frankenstein, and being wheeled into a room and a light and a doctor looking down on me. And he had a contraption in his hand, what was an ether mask, but I didn't know that. And for some reason, I thought I was being executed. I thought my parents that they had ordered me, that they didn't like me, and this was the execution. And the doctor had this thing, and he was going to put it on my face, and I was going to die. And as the doctor moved the ether mask onto my face, I remember shouting, "No, doctor, no!" And this thing came on my face, and my world turned black. And next thing I know, woke up in a crib, and I threw up on the pillow, and I turned the pillow over, and I threw up on that. So So I crawled over to the other side of the crib. There was another pillow. I threw up. I turned the pillow over. I threw up again. And then I don't know what to do. I crawled to the middle of the crib and I threw up again and I fell asleep. But by the way, I was promised ice cream and I never got it. So this is my first conscious memory. And it's a fair question to ask, what does that have to do with comedy? And the answer is not a damn thing. It has nothing to do with comedy at all. But here's the thing. Go on. You want it?
I was going to say it would be riddled with anxiety. You must be riddled with anxiety because of that moment, your whole life.
Yes, I've had on some degree. That's absolutely true. But here's the thing. Years later, I'm visiting my Aunt Nettie. And for some reason, I'm alone in her living room. And she's got a stack of albums. And it's, I grew up in an Italian family, so it's Perry Como and Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and Jimmy Roselli. I'm looking through the albums, and what is this? There's an album that stands out, and it's this black guy on a go-kart that's going out of control down a hill. And it says on top of the album, Bill Cosby, Wonderfulness. And what is this? So I pull it out, I put the album on, and the first track on that album is called Tonsils. And it's Bill Cosby telling the story of when he got his tonsils taken out. And all the humiliations that he went through, the ice cream he was promised that he never got, all that. So, here's this black guy from Philadelphia telling this white kid's story from Brooklyn, and I fell in love. It's very difficult, of course, when your comedy hero turns out to be Cosby.
Yeah.
But that changed the way I viewed that experience. I realized, actually, what happened to me was funny. And I knew then that what I wanted to do, what I was going to do, what I in fact was a humorist. And that was the aha moment for me.
Do you remember the first joke you got paid to write?
I don't remember the first joke I got paid to write, but I remember the first joke I ever told on stage.
Okay, that's great.
I said to someone, did you fill in that blank yet? And he says, what blank? And I say, the one between your ears.
That's very very boy's life.
I didn't say it was a good joke.
Yeah. It's very boy's life. I wanted to ask you, what you ran for Pope in 2013. You were one of a handful of people that ran for Pope. I want to know what your favorite religion is. Do you have a favorite religion?
I've always been a fan of Baconism.
I don't know that.
Baconism. Well, you've obviously never read Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle. If you read Kurt Vonnegut's Cat's Cradle, you would know that Baconism was found by Bakonin, the author of the books of Bakonin, a holy book full of essentially lies, but comforting lies. I always liked Baconism and Scientology. Those would probably be my two favorite. Although I would choose Baconism over Scientology, I think. Even though I ran for Pope, and I would have been a damn good Pope.
You would have been a good,
very well qualified.
What would you have changed as Pope? What would you have done differently in Catholicism or the Vatican? What would you change?
I would have gotten rid of all the holy water, and I would have replaced it with Purell.
And that's pre-COVID. You're forward thinking.
Pre-COVID. Very forward thinking. That's the first thing I would have done. And that alone should have gotten me in. Because this holy water is just a fetid pool of of bacteria.
Now, there's a lot of cancel culture out there, and we'll talk a little bit about that more later, but I want to know if you think that there's anything to the idea that there are agents and managers out there telling their clients, hey, you need to get canceled to get a little attention. We need to get you in there. You need you need an N-word tape or something like that. We need to get your name out there with something terrible. Did you do it? Do you think there's any managers or agents trying to do that?
That sounds like the plot of a Mel Brooks movie. I suppose, every comedian aspires to a certain degree of controversy, right? So that wouldn't shock me, no. But then again, no one really wants to be in deep, deep water. No one wants to be where Kathy Griffin was.
No, well, that was a stupid thing to do. Any comment on murdering the president of the United States is stupid. No matter who they are. I'm not a pro-Trump person by any means, but I still don't think that should be projected. But how do you feel about that?
I think that. Listen, comedians cross the line. That's our job. And when we cross a line, when a satirist crosses a line, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, sometimes satirists push things too far, but certainly there was a tremendous overreaction to what Kathy Griffin did. I think, comedians. I had more of a problem with Samantha Bee, actually, than I did Kathy Griffin.
Okay, what was it specifically? This was like around
when she called. She called Ivanka Trump the C word.
Okay, yeah, that one seems to bother people too, unless you're in Britain, then they love it. Like it's a very widely.
Well, what bothered me about it is that, and this goes back a couple of years now, that she didn't really apologize for it. She said that the media was overreacting. Her response was kind of Trumpy, and it's like you can't have it both ways. If you're going to reclaim the word, if you're going to take the Eve Ensler approach, the vagina monologues approach, and you're going to reclaim the word, and you don't want the word to be a vulgar word, the way a lot of people in the African American community have reclaimed the N-word and use it as a term of affection. Well, if you want to reclaim it as that, then why are you using it in a pejorative sense? Which is it?
And my understanding of the word is that it comes from an Indian word meaning, like the Indian word kuni, which is the goddess of fertility. And I may be getting that a little wrong, but that it comes from something very positive. It comes from birthing and being able to rear children, and then it became this terrible thing, as human beings make everything.
Yeah, I mean, even now, it's strange. We're talking in code. It's the C word. We're saying the C word. We're saying the N word. We're referring to the words, but not really saying them, which is, to me, an odd thing. It's an acceptable thing, but it's odd. There are people watching us and listening to us, and we can make them think of words, but we're not saying them, which is kind of unfair. But that's kind of the world that we live in now. Although, look, I've performed in 44 states, and I've used all these words in my act for years, without apology. Of course, that was pre-COVID. Things have changed now. Be interesting to see when I get back out there, given that I've done a show called The Joy of Censorship, which is about language and other things. And I do take the point of view that the satirist cannot cede any word. That, let's face it, censorship is the enemy of satire. period.
That's an amazing thing to end on for now. We're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to come back and talk more about that. Joe Raiola, thank you for being here. We'll be right back with you. Welcome back to America. We'll be back in a second. Hey, welcome back to America. I am here with former senior editor of Mad Magazine for like 30 plus years, very well-known writer, beloved in the world of comedy, beloved in the world at large. I have a few very sort of silly questions that I want to ask you and see how you feel about these. All right, my first one is, if a train leaves Chicago at 6 p.m. for LA, and another train leaves San Francisco for Chicago at noon, who's going to win the World Series?
I think the Golden State Warriors.
Oh, wow. Good guess. Yeah, I would have never guessed that, but you're right. Good answer.
I'm a big fan.
You're a basketball fan? You like basketball?
I'm a sports fan in general, although I think many of the things that we call sports are not sports, but I'm a sports fan.
What do you mean by that? Like, what wouldn't be a sport to you?
For example, horse racing is not a sport.
Okay, because it doesn't involve the human in a physical way that, I mean,
there are no animals in sport. There are no animals in sports. The dog show, cockfighting, bullfighting, mosquito races, the pig rodeo. There are no animals in sports. If the thing includes an animal by its nature, it's not a sport. A sport is only something that willing participants who want to win can be engaged in. Horses do not qualify.
So is poker a sport?
Poker, no. Poker's not a sport. No.
That's too bad.
Poker's games, Monopoly and Stratego. No board game is a sport. No.
Not even a chess.
No, it's a game.
Okay.
It's a game. It's not a sport.
If you
we
could
can spend the rest of the show on this if you want.
We could. It would be great. 40 minutes on the definition of sport. If you could have a superhero power, what would it be?
It would be to never be put on hold.
Oh, wow. I did that to you right before you called, right before the show. I apologize for that.
To have power and never be on hold.
Imagine that being useful in trying to save the world. You just had the power to get right through to past the operator, right to the CEO. I guess that would be useful, yeah, especially in travel.
I would like to be able to. I'd like to be able to call Delta Airlines now. Just get some,
If you were on the run from the FBI or police or some organization of that nature, and you had a bag of money, where are you hiding the money and where are you going?
Where am I hiding the money and where am I going?
Yeah, they could be different places.
Well, I'm not hiding the money and taking it with me. Because if I hide the money, I'm not going to get to where I'm going. So that's a trick question. I'm not hiding the money. And I'm going to Canada.
Okay. Legitimate answer. Canada is a good place to go when you're on the run.
The only answer is you have to go to Canada.
Yeah, no.
Canada's, yeah.
I agree. I know a lot of comedians that have moved to Canada in the last couple of years. So,
that's an obvious question.
Yeah.
Sorry I didn't answer that sooner.
If you could invent something, what would it be?
A smart hat.
A smart hat?
Smart hat, yes.
What would it do?
It would know when to be on your head. It would know when to be on your head and know when to be off your head. It would know what to do. You wouldn't have to put it on or put it off. It would just be a smart hat. It would know.
But you're not supposed to wear a hat inside, so it would have to follow you outside.
Some people wear hats.
Yeah,
that is, first of all, that is wrong.
Yeah.
As someone who ran for Pope, the Pope wears a hat inside. He wears that big hat.
That's true, but nobody else is supposed to. No other men. Men aren't supposed to. And
Jews wear hats inside.
I was going to say,
Jewish men.
I understand that you're right, and people do wear hats, but they did wear them a lot more before. Like in the 50s, like to the 20s to the 50s, everyone went outside with a hat on.
You know nothing of hats, obviously. You know very little of hats.
I look like I'm stuck on my feet right now, and I don't know. I look like I'm stammering. I'm floundering a bit. I'm trying to change the subject because I'm uncomfortable about hats. Hats make me uncomfortable. Would you cover this hair? I'm not covering this hair.
You see, I think right about now people are starting to tune out.
Wait, I don't know. Wait, that means you assumed that there was an audience. I take that as a compliment.
True.
I have, as you know, there's a new Indiana Jones movie coming out. You know, there's a 5th one being made.
Yeah, Indiana Jones and the Circle of Death or something, or Indiana Jones meets the Grim Reaper. Or...
I have a few possible titles here. I want to know if you think they're good. I'm going to go through just a bunch.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Lost City of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. Indiana Jones and the Early Bird Breakfast at Denny's.
That's okay.
That I actually have a picture.
That's the.
I have a picture of a ham and eggs coming down like the ball, like the ball that's following Indiana. Yeah, there you go. He's being
Right.
chased by Moon over my hammy. Okay, Indiana Jones and the Prostate of Doom. Indiana Jones.
Prostate of Doom.
The Prostate of Doom. Okay.
I'm still going with number 2.
Indiana Jones and the Questionable Touching. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Canceled Icon. It's kind of nowish. It's a little maybe too forward thinking. Indiana Jones and the Star Wars.
Boy, these are really. These are not good.
Indiana Jones and the Search for an Oscar. Indiana Jones and the 4 Funerals in a Day.
What is that a reference to?
I'm not sure. Someone just wrote it. I just put it, and I wrote it down again. I'm not sure why. Indiana Jones and the Oncologist Visit. Is that horrifying?
Oh, that's really. You know what? I could step away and come back when you're finished with these if you like.
There's only like 2 more. I only have like 2 more, 2 or 3 more. You might like this one. Indiana Jones and the Ingrate Mutt Who Never Calls. No? All right. I was happy about
I still like number 2 the best.
1 out of 10 ain't bad.
Go on.
And then the Indiana Jones and the Complicated AARP Form. That's kind of cute. Okay.
Oh, you're onto something there. Indiana Jones and the lapsed ARP membership. I don't know.
That's I like that.
I don't do this anymore. This is this is the business that I got out of.
I know. I'm trying to pull you back in like The Godfather 3.
We used to do this. This used to be my whole day.
I know. That's why I'm doing this right
around.
now. One of the things that Mad Magazine did that I think is important to note that no other comedy, people would submit and you guys would actually comment on all the submissions and send them back to the writer. That almost never happens in the comedy world. You can go to the New Yorker, they might send you some feedback, but you guys always did. I sent in a couple of submissions, just like everybody in New York did in the 90s and 2000s. Everyone sent in a submission. So you guys always sent it back with feedback, and I'll never forget that. That's a big deal. But 1 out of 20 ain't bad. So I thank you for that.
And to be clear, we didn't always send back notes because we got so much crap that it was impossible to always do that. But we would try to send back notes when we got something that it was obvious that the person put some real effort into it and that there was something there worth commenting on.
Oh, well, I got notes, so I appreciate that. We're going to come back. We have some more commercials so that the show keeps on going on. I'm not sure why people apparently pay to put commercials on during this show. But we'll talk more about Mad when we come back with Joe Raiola. And welcome back to America.
Hey everybody, this is Motorcycle Mike, the personal injury lawyer. I've been riding motorcycles my entire adult life. During the course of my 30-year career as a lawyer, I've also represented countless injured motorcyclists. If you're one of them, I can be of assistance to you. Go to my website, please, motorcyclemikeesq.com. I'll always be there for you. I'm on your side when you ride.
Me llaman Dan Pablo y hace más de 20 años me enamoré de una colombiana. Viajé a su país y conocí un estilo de café muy distinto, muy especial. Ahora tostamos cafés excelentes, con alturas y microclimas diferentes, resultado en una taza muy compleja y muy rica, un sabor nuevo en el mundo. Fue un éxito. And I even got to keep the girl.
Hey, welcome back to America. I'm DB Frick. That guy over there, that's Joe Raiola, former senior editor, 33 years. Very few people can say that they were senior editor of anything for you and Anna Winokur. That's about it. That's like it. Everybody else, nobody is able to keep their jobs that long. Nobody can keep a job that long. I'm getting fired after this. I haven't had this for a year. There you are. I think that's the last day of Mad. I don't know if you can see the picture, but you're sitting on the desk and it says Mad in the background and you look really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that the last day? Was that day?
Well, I can't see the.
Okay. Well, you look. I think it's
it probably wasn't the last day. The last week.
How did you become part of Mad Magazine? What brought you there?
It was pretty simple. Mad was looking for writers. This goes back to 1984, and my buddy Charlie Cato and I back then were working with a bunch of National Lampoon alumni on a national magazine spoof called Cosmo Parody. Joan Rivers was the cover girl of that at a time when Joan Rivers was a really big star, and Mad advertised in the Village Voice, if anyone remembers the Village Voice, and the New York Times. And Charlie saw the ad, they classified in, I think, the Times, and I saw it classified in the Village Voice. And we used to meet every week to work on material. And we said, hey, look at this. We should write some stuff for Mad. Hit immediately. So
We're having a little trouble with the feed.
Material,
Yeah.
we sold a couple of pieces, so we started writing for the magazine, and it was really, like a lot of 28 years started, I guess, in 1950.
We're having a little issue with the feed. I don't know if you can hear, but we're here with Joe Raiola, former senior editor of, he's coming back. There he is, he's back. Your mic is muted. But sometimes the mic gets shut off when you go off and come on again. Your mic. The mic is muted.
Yeah, there's a thunder and lightning storm here. That's what just happened.
That's right. You're in what town again? You're in Hillsborough? No, not Hillsborough.
I'm High Falls, New York.
High Falls, New York, which is about 100 miles outside of New York, and you've lived there for a while. Now, you were
I'm not sure where you...
I don't know what you were telling before. The entire story that you told a minute ago got cut off. So if you could go through that again, that would be great. It just, the signal was bad.
Sure. Right. So in 1984, my buddy Charlie Cato and I were working with National Lampoon alumni on a magazine spoof called Cosmo Parody with cover girl Joan Rivers, who was a pretty big star at the time. She was hosting the Tonight Show and getting bigger ratings than Carson. And at that time, Mad was looking for writers, and they placed classified ads in the Village Voice and the New York Times. And Charlie saw one, and I saw the other. And we used to get together every week to write comedy. And we said, okay, Mad's looking for writers. Let's, write some stuff for Mad. And we hit with our first submission. And we started writing for the magazine. And then, you know how it goes. There's a little bit of luck involved with this stuff. Al Feldstein had been an editor at Mad since 1956, was retiring after 28 years. So since Charlie and I were editors working with the National Lampoon alumni and showed that we had we got the Mad voice, we were called in for an interview. And in 1985, January 1985, we were hired as editors.
It really is incredible history in comedy, and it was such a renaissance during that time, from like 75 to 85. Everyone getting sitcoms, the National Lampoon being out there at the same time that SNL is really still out there, and Eddie Murphy is big during maybe 85 was probably that season with Michael McKean and Harry Shearer, but it was this incredible renaissance of comedy to be part of that time in history. It's something I've always been very interested in. And I even had the opportunity to do a little writing for sort of a resurgence of the National Lampoon that Tony Hendra was doing he started like 2011. And I was pitching a bunch of stuff, and I'm playing a little video of his at the end of this. We talked a little bit before about how satire and comedy and the cancellation of it all. Have you had any fear yourself about being canceled? Has there been a situation where you thought, and you probably wouldn't say it here if you did, but are there any times that you're like, I hope that someone doesn't bring up that thing that I said?
Well, first about being canceled, I'm not well known enough and don't have enough of a platform to be canceled. So I don't worry about that because, frankly, I'm not successful enough as a performer where that becomes a big issue for me. On the other hand, since I've done comedy revolving around the First Amendment for so long, and have used words that one is not supposed to use for so long, and I've gotten flack look, I've been walked out on in audiences in California and in audiences in Mississippi, both. So I take some pride in that. It's not a good idea for a humorist to give up any word, to give up language, of any kind. My stand-up, my Mount Rushmore of stand-ups would be Dick Gregory, Richard Pryor, Lenny Bruce, and George Carlin. They would be my four. And what they had in common is they never apologized for the words that they used and the things that they said that were controversial. And we live in a dangerous time for comedy now because more and more satirists are being neutered. And that's not a good trend.
What was it that in 2017 moved Mad Magazine to Los Angeles from New York, where it was since really it's practically its inception? What happened, and why did it go away? And can something like that come back?
Well, there's a couple different questions in there. Let me deal with the first part first. Mad, when Bill Gaines died in '93, about a year later, Mad was absorbed into the DC Comics world, and Mad became part of DC Comics. DC and Mad really, in many ways, had very little in common. DC is about Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and merchandising, all stuff that Mad made fun of. Mad's most famous characters, Alfred E. Newman and Spies from Spy vs. Spy, didn't even speak. They didn't lend themselves to making movies, and Mad was famously anti-merchandising. Bill Gaines refused to merchandise Mad on any major level. DC was built on that. So in some ways, it was a bad fit. DC, Warner Brothers, all about movie making, moved the company to Burbank, I think in 2014, and they wanted Mad to go. And basically, we said, no, we're not going. We didn't go for personal reasons. We had family and friends in New York. We didn't want to go to California. And they relented and said, you know what, you could stay, we'll go, and you guys could remain in New York. And we said, thank you very much, we're glad to stay. But they were not happy with that arrangement. They wanted Mad in Burbank so they could control it more. And 3 years later, in 2017, they decided that they were this time serious. They were moving Mad to Burbank, and none of us wanted to go. And we didn't. And they foolishly, disastrously moved Mad to Burbank with a new staff, which did not have a single person on the staff who had ever written a piece for the magazine before. They got exactly what they wanted. They didn't want us. They wanted the comic book editor. They hired a comic book editor. They were a comic book company. That's the world that they knew. And a year and a half later, Mad went belly up because they didn't know what they were doing and they didn't know how to do it.
It's really too bad because it sounds like something that actually could have worked. Like on paper, it sounds like this bringing together these two great, essentially comic book concepts together. It seems like it would just become something that could have been, and it's too bad that it didn't work the way maybe it could have. That's really.
You know what? We never thought it could work. We never thought it could work. We never thought it would. We never thought it could work or would work. And we thought that that everything that DC was doing in terms of the move to Burbank was wrong. Every single aspect of it, we thought it was doomed to failure. Now, look, I'm going to use the Adelphi analogy here. You and I both went to Adelphi, okay? You went to Adelphi when the president was like absconding money. There was embezzlement. It's like you don't want that for your alma mater, right? Years after I went to Adelphi, there was a serial killer on the Long Island Railroad from Adelphi, shot people. You don't want to, when people think of your alma mater, to think of a serial killer or an embezzler. You'd like your alma mater to do well and people to think well of it. And we weren't rooting against Mad without us, but we knew it was doomed because it was being mismanaged on a corporate level by a group of people who were making one disastrous decision after another. So we could see it was doomed.
On a more positive note, we only have a couple of more minutes. We have another minute here. I want to talk about one of the most important things and one of the greatest things that you get to do every year that I get to see is you do a John Lennon tribute. You've been doing a John Lennon tribute since 1981 when he was sadly first shot. When is it this year? I'm assuming last year was virtual. Are you doing it live this year? Where's it going to be? How's that going?
This year, the 41st annual John Lennon tribute will be in the fall. I can't announce the date yet, but it will return as a live event. This is a charity concert that I established, I created with my teacher at the time, my acting teacher, the artistic director of theater within, Alec Rubin. And we created this event. It was a workshop event in those days, back in 1981. But it's evolved into a pretty big deal. It's the longest running Lennon tribute in the world. It's the only event of its kind that's sanctioned by Yoko Ono, and it attracts pretty big artists over the years. Natalie Merchant, Donovan, and Roseanne Cash, Joan Osborne, Betty LaVette, Jackson Brown, Cyndi Lauper have all played the event. And it's the great event. It's a Lennon celebration in the city that John loved on the Upper West Side in his neighborhood.
I look forward to checking that out this year. Joe, I really appreciate you coming down today. You're an incredibly intelligent person, and I look forward to talking again, and I hope we meet in person soon. And is there anything else you'd like to mention to the people watching to check you out? Is there anything you're working on that you'd like people to know about before we go?
Not a damn thing. I'm in a bunker. I'm just trying to get out of here. But if anybody would like to book me, I'm chomping at the bit. I did a virtual comedy show. I did a 1-hour show where I didn't see the audience or hear the audience.
I saw
that. I
that.
don't want to do that again. I got to get back in the room with people.
And it was a great show, too. I saw that show, and that's what led to this interview. Thank you so much, Joe, for coming down. We're going to show a little cartoon right after this that I did with Tony Hendra and a little memoriam. Thank you very much for checking out Welcome Back to America. I'm DB Frick. Be well.
On the heels of an internal memo revealing the power of the president to use drones to kill Americans, the White House has expanded the reach of the military program. In an effort to cut spending, the United States government now uses military drones to evict families from foreclosed homes. White House Press Secretary Jay Carney explained.
This program not only increases efficiency in the real estate market, but it reduces the deficit by replacing sheriffs and their expensive pensions, health care, and mustache maintenance. It adds to the unemployed, sure, but drones don't get tired, they don't have mouths to feed, and they usually don't employ racial and misogynistic imagery in executing their duties.
At a meeting of the National Sheriff's Association of America, for America, Sheriff R.P. Coltrane told a harrowing tale of being threatened by a drone.
I got pulled over by a drone while driving around off duty with my hound. Broke my taillight and all with a laser-guided baton. It then shoved me with said baton and told me the town wasn't big enough for the two of us.
Al Sharpton today joined the nation's sheriffs in opposing the new program.
This program of drone evictions is deeply racist and must stop. It has put both of America's African-American sheriffs out of work.
We tried to speak with some of the drones, but they had no comment. Based upon the early popularity of the program amongst bank executives and families who haven't been vaporized, the Obama administration has ordered a fleet of drones designed to hunt, kill, and defund students past due on their Perkins loans.